Aside from Max Verstappen in third place, Martin Brundle believes McLaren will face two further challenges to their F1 2025 title dominance. The first is the internal dispute, and the second is Mercedes' exciting Emilia Romagna Grand Prix enhancements, which could change everything for the Silver Arrows. 6 races into the F1 2025 campaign, McLaren leads both title races, with a 95-point lead over Mercedes in the Constructors' title, and 1-2 in the Drivers' standings. Oscar Piastri leads the standings by 16 points over his teammate Lando Norris, with Verstappen trailing by another 16. Just 6 points behind him is George Russell, who has 4 podium finishes in 6 Grand Prix. Jacques Villeneuve, 1997 world champion, believes Russell has the potential to launch a under-the-radar attack on the titles after demonstrating excellent consistency this season. He explained to Sky F1, "They've got more points than actually we know. We look at the screen, oh wow, they got a lot of points. Even as a team, they're always up there, they're always competitive. He, Russell, has done really well." The Brackley team is aiming to improve their chances of success with an update for the W16, which will be introduced at the next race in Imola. The Emilia Romagna Grand Prix is the first of 9 European races, with Canada also in there as an outlier, and most teams intend to deliver improvements to the event as the season's development war heats up. There is some that will be more obvious to the outside world in the next handful of races, and, with a bit of luck, they will improve our fortunes. Mercedes technical director James Allison said on the team's post-Miami debrief. Hopefully the ones that happen in the next 2 or 3 races will move the dial a bit for us. Also, we will continue to try to work on the tyre temperature in the races, that will also improve our fortune. According to Brundle, Mercedes is quite excited about the Imola package. The former F1 driver turned pundit told Sky's The F1 Show that it is much too early to award McLaren the titles with so many points available, stating, "We've got 18 races and 4 sprints left." The sprint points are going to be much more important this year than they have been in the past in terms of the championship. They're going to be crucial to keep getting those in, especially with no point for fastest lap, which I still don't understand why they took that away. It's nonsense. But the problem McLaren can have is if Verstappen and George Russell keep pumping in the results, and Mercedes have got an update coming in Imola that they're quite excited about, but I'm sure they'll all improve to an extent. He cautioned McLaren against focusing only on their own intra-team struggle between Piastri and Lando Norris, since while they have a 1-2, too much attention could let a rival team to sneak ahead, as Alain Prost did in 1986 against the powerful Williams duo of Nigel Mansell and Nelson Piquet. "If they're there," he continued, referring to the McLaren teammates, "there's no doubt in my mind that Piastri and Norris will take points off each other. So they've got to be careful that they're so focused on each other, somebody else comes in and wins the championship, as Alain Prost did in 1986. But the problem you've got then is, if you wait until somebody is mathematically out of the World Championship, that's going to be October, November time, isn't it, in this championship? So, McLaren might have to take a decision before that to make a choice. It depends how it unfolds, but they won't be thinking about that until the summer break, at least. Russell, on the other hand, believes that this year's title competition will be dominated by McLaren, particularly as the track temperature rises. "I'd love to say so, but I don't think we are, to be honest," he said in Bahrain when asked if he was a title contender. "McLaren are just too dominant right now. I think this is probably going to be their peak performance, what we saw this week in Bahrain. And what we saw in China and Suzuka is probably their worst case scenario, and they still obviously got 1 victory from those 2 races. So, we've got to keep on picking up the points, picking up the pieces. And this weekend, we picked up the pieces to get a P2, and we did it in Melbourne as well to get the P3. I don't expect this to continue for many races to come, but who knows?" While Brundle and Villeneuve examine the external risks to McLaren's domination, Mercedes' internal development race offers a promising counterpunch to the Woking-based team's grip on 2025. That narrative continues with a technical deep dive into what Mercedes has planned for Imola, and why the Silver Arrows believe it might be a watershed moment. Mercedes F1 is one of the most consistent teams in the first part of the season. The Brackley team has given the drivers a good car that, at least with George Russell, can finish the official sessions, qualifying and racing, in the top 5. On the other hand, Antonelli's learning curve is steadily improving. A performance that puts the squad solidly in second place in the Constructors' Championship. The margin with the Red Bull of Super Max Verstappen is good, even though the performance gap to the two McLarens is rather large, particularly in the race. After 6 races, the W16 has demonstrated genuinely ideal capability on the dry track, but its racing pace has frequently been hindered by a variety of issues. To address this problem, the Brackley team intends to implement an update plan, beginning with the Imola Grand Prix, which will improve, among other things, tyre management during lengthy runs. The launch of the top motorsport category in Europe has traditionally been associated with fine-tuning the car's performance with the introduction of the initial upgrade packages. There are 2 basic reasons. The initial portion of the championship is spent understanding the car and the logistics, like in the World Championship stages that lead up to the end of spring, when the F1 technicians decide which course to take. Mercedes has identified what is missing and where to improve with the W16, with the goal of closing at least a portion of the deficit on the Woking squad that is now leading the World Championship. One of Mercedes' weaknesses is the performance of the single-seater in races. Except for Miami, where the McLarens dominated, there is a general lack of pace due to insufficient rear axle thermal control. The abnormal increase in temperature reduces the tyre's grip on the ground, requiring caution to avoid putting too much energy on the tyres. In these early races, the Brackley team has only made minor adjustments to the car twice. We are talking to the first race in Australia, following the Bahrain tests, and the final appointment in Miami. In Melbourne, numerous aerodynamic parts of the German single-seater were modified, including the front suspension, floor, engine cover, inlet, beam wing, and rear wing. The latter was altered in Miami with the goal of enhancing the aerodynamic thrust of the center spoon while decreasing the drag caused by the lateral sections and improving overall efficiency. A hefty package of improvements could arrive at Imola, as reported by James Allison himself in the post-race in Miami, including significant changes to the car's geometry compared to what was observed in Melbourne. An revised bottom is predicted in both the side pavement and the diffuser area, as well as a potential adjustment to the rear air intakes. These adjustments will have an indirect effect on the car's thermal behavior, allowing drivers to push without continually managing degradation. At the very least, the specialists intend to repair and upgrade the car. Temperature control will be the common thread running through all of the interventions. The W16 has showed a thermal imbalance between the single-seater's 2 axles, thus the experts wish to increase the load on the back axle. To accomplish this, following some wind tunnel and CFD testing, it appears that the capacity of the diffuser has been enlarged to facilitate air extraction from the floor. This intervention will strengthen the interaction between the floor, beam wing, and rear wing, resulting in a bigger pressure difference between the intrados and extrados. As a result, the static load on the rear becomes more effective, boosting the car's stability and downforce. A lower slip angle is used to generate the same level of grip, lowering the amount of energy on the tyres and the temperature released. The alteration to the rear corner zone is intended to increase hot air evacuation from the brake drum during braking. This adjustment reduces the amount of heat that the rim conducts to the tyre's outer surface, improving thermal management during the race. This adjustment may make qualifying more difficult by requiring the tyres to be in the correct temperature window. The following 3 races will be critical in determining the W16's destiny. If the updates are successful, Mercedes will finally have a more complete single-seater that will perform well in races while remaining speedy in qualifying. This might allow the team to reduce the performance gap with the McLaren duo, which, on paper, may have lost some of its edge since the introduction of the TD018.